Welcome to this performance of Bly Manor, presented by the modern Prometheans. Please take a moment to turn off your cell phone or anything else that might make noise during the show. If you enjoy this performance, we strongly encourage you to make a donation by cash, credit card, or Venmo. Those donations go directly to the performers. This is just the beginning of our 2024 season here in our new space. Thank you for supporting live theater. We hope to see you at many more shows this season and beyond.
The only conclusion I can draw is that there is something deeply wrong with this place. A curse. A hex. Perhaps the ground itself was soiled, desecrated long before the house was built at all. I do not know if a place can have a heart or soul as a person does, but if it can, this place surely does. And that heart is rotting to its core. What occurs here feels completely divorced from reality. No sane person would call what happens here normal. And yet it does happen. I have no reasonable explanation for the things I have witnessed and experienced, and so I am left with nothing but what is not reasonable, not sane, not rational or normal or right. Do not know what will happen to me once the sun rises. If it should ever do so again. Perhaps they will put me in prison, or an asylum, or perhaps I'll just board a carriage and go. What I do know, what I can be absolutely sure of, is that this is my final night in Bly Manor. Tomorrow I leave this place in its rotten heart and its restless spirits behind forever. And if my destination is the hangman's noose, so be it. It has been less than a year at Bly, and the memories of times before, even if they feel alien and too perfect in reflection, are not far distant from me. I was making the difficult transition that all young people of some status must face, a time of leaving the home of my youth and taking my first true steps into adulthood. I had seen my friends do the same, though most moved into marriages, trading one set home for another with nothing in between. I had brief courtships, but something in me rebelled against the idea of leaping into matrimony so early. I wished to gain a bit of experience in the world, perhaps travel or even do some writing. My father was not subtle in his worry that I might slip into spinsterhood, but ultimately knew I could not be forced. It was in this state that I read an ad in the Times, seeking a governess to live and work in a grand estate.
I hope you had no trouble finding the place.
No, not at all. I do love coming to Harley Street and seeing the beautiful old buildings. I even attended Queen's College down the street for 2 years. That was some time ago.
You didn't finish your education there?
No, I was forced to withdraw when my mother became ill.
Did she recover?
She did not, I'm afraid.
I'm quite sorry to hear that. I lost my father at a very young age, and that sort of loss is difficult to recover from.
It is. But one cannot just fall to pieces, not when there is more to take care of.
That kind of strength is very impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Tell me, what is it that made you respond to my advertisement? What is it that draws you to this position?
Well, I love children, sir. I hope one day, of course, to be a mother of many of my own, but until then I sincerely wish to teach and care for children, to help them grow into wonderful young men and women.
You are a young woman yourself.
This is true.
Have you much experience?
I, of course, knew exactly what he meant. He was inquiring about my work history, my experience teaching and dealing with children. But that word, experience, some base, wretched parts of my imagination refused to be stilled. Of course, I have cared for the children of 2 other families, and for one of those I ran the house in the summer months.
That's good. Very good. I will admit I am not well versed in the particulars of other governess positions. We had a governess briefly when I was a child, but I spent most of my youth in boarding schools. Despite that, I imagine that the details of this position might be peculiar.
Every situation is unique.
The children are my niece and nephew, Flora and Miles. Their parents have been dead for several years now. They reside in my country estate, Bly Manor, which lies in a far-flung part of Essex, all the way out in Foulness Island. It's an old family home and not a place I enjoy spending time. They live there, I live here. The separation is quite intentional.
I'm sorry?
Since the deaths of my brother and his wife, it has become my responsibility to see that the children are cared for and properly raised. It is not my responsibility that I should be the one doing it. I have great sympathy for them, of course. They are lovely children by all accounts, but at this stage in my life, I am not suited to be any kind of parental figure. They wouldn't benefit from my interference, and I wouldn't benefit from theirs. I have my life here in London, my business, my affairs.
That word.
And I have no desire for any of that to be interrupted. If you are to take this position, it means that you will be in control of Bly Manor. You will be in charge for the care and raising of my niece and nephew. I do not wish to be contacted about them. Ever. You are to make all decisions regarding their upbringing. Can you satisfy these requirements?
I understood the seriousness of what he was saying, of course. But I will admit a certain level of distraction. The shape of his lips as he formed his words, the movement of his tongue. I am a lady, and lady is not to be bogged down by such animal urges. But I am also a woman, and as much as I would prefer not to have such thoughts, they seem to be completely unavoidable. My imagination ran amok.
It is important that I feel confident in your ability to satisfy my needs.
Oh, I can absolutely satisfy you. Your needs. The job. Yes. I can do all that the job requires. I must confess this cruel imagination of mine is fueled by a great love of reading. Much of that reading is, well, not sordid exactly, but certainly dramatic, romantic. No, I don't mean the penny dreadfuls, though I've peeked at those just the same as anyone. No, my favourite book in the entire world is Jane Eyre. Her steadfastness, her strength, and my personal copy of the last volume has been so thoroughly read through that the pages threatened to fall out of the spine of the thing like autumn leaves. A governess and a master ending up with one another. It is a scenario very well within my imagination.
You must do all that I ask.
I had courtships in the past, but I always found them lacking.
You must attend to my needs.
Nothing could quite match what I'd imagined a romance to be. Jane and Rochester went through such trials and tests. Their bond was unbreakable and boundless. They were equals. Could I find a man with such passion, a man who truly desired, who would fight for me, die for me, who would not just have me, but take me?
You'll be compensated very fairly, of course, and be given access to an account to take care of all the expenses of the house.
Perhaps this man was not my Rochester, but perhaps he could be.
What do you think?
I think. Yes, of course.
Excellent. I'll have a coach hired to take you to Bly at the end of the week.
And that was it. I was in his home for less than an hour, and he irreparably altered the course of my life. I had a few days to settle things at home, then packed my clothes and essentials and boarded the coach he sent for me. I had been in many parts of Britain, but had never travelled that far east. We soon left London behind and entered the English countryside, and I was greeted with the most beautiful morning. I spent much of it in thoughts of him, my Rochester, fawning in my mind like a schoolgirl. I imagined him meeting me at Bly Manor, opening the door to the grand estate to welcome me inside. Foolish, of course, ridiculous, but I dreamed all the same. We travelled on for about 4 hours until we reached Southend.
We'll have to stop here for a time, miss.
Why is that?
Well, we have to wait for the tide to go out. Should be around noon or so.
Oh, I'm afraid I don't understand.
Have you not been out of Foundness before, miss?
Never.
Well, that explains it then. There's only one way on or off the island. The Broom Way. It's an ancient road. Lord knows who figured it out or how many drowned trying to map it.
Oh, it goes along the coast.
Oh, no, miss. It goes straight in.
The coach was stopped on a pier, and in the distance I could see the water splashing against some big shape.
Those will be the brooms out there. Little markers you can see when the tide goes out, guiding the way across.
But it's in the sea. Surely that can't be the way.
It's the only way. Safe enough, as long as you're smart about it and give yourself enough time. I've travelled this road plenty, and I haven't gotten the drink yet.
And surely enough, as the tide went out, we boarded the coach again and drove straight into what was just, it would soon be again, the North Sea. My heart was racing the entire time. I could see nothing around us but the water, all the way to the horizon. With every small bump, I imagined the wheels slipping off of the broomway, the coach dragging us all down into some hidden pool. The salt air felt thick and close, and I can very vividly imagine what the water would feel like filling my lungs. But after a short time, we turned and began heading toward a new shoreline, and long before the tide swallowed the road again, we had reached Foundness Island. I had been told of its remoteness, had looked at a map even, but it wasn't until then that I truly felt the isolation of the place. Getting to it with a coach and a guide was no easy matter, and leaving by myself would be practically impossible, or perhaps fatal. But before the reality of that had time to dominate my thinking, we had arrived, and I got my first glimpse of Bly Manor, a grand 3-story house with expansive gardens all around. Here in the sunlight, it looked beautiful. The red brick facade gave a feeling of welcome warmth, and as we pulled in and the driver began unloading my things, I met the incomparable Mrs. Rose.
Oh, you are the governess.
I am.
Oh, that's lovely. We're so glad to have you. We are from the moss, so you'd be coming in. Oh, Mrs. Gross, I'll take care of the place and people if that's okay.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you.
And you. Did the trouble treat you kindly?
Oh, it was a lovely day, yes.
Oh, that's good, that's good. Feels like I've got a bit of weather coming in tonight, so I'm glad you're really early. We sometimes get sneaky storms on the island. Come right in before you know it. Close the broom, we're right off for the whole day. Have you eaten?
Oh, well, I just...
I'll have to get a thing or two from the larder for you, don't you worry. We'll have tea in a few hours, but there's no going hungry at Bly Manor. Not if I have anything to say about it. Oh, we're just so glad you're here. Flora's going to be so excited.
I'd love to meet the children right away if I can.
Oh, she was playing upstairs. I'll go fetch her for you. Miles is still at school, you know. Won't be back for holidays till the end of the week. Do come in, miss. I'll get Flora for you.
Never in my life have I encountered someone so happy to meet me. My first thought, is there something wrong here? That she should be so eager to have an ally. But I know that's awfully uncharitable of me. I'm sure being this far away from everything, anyone or anything new is exciting, but I hardly had time to dwell on it.
Go on. That's your new governess, Flora. Don't be shy.
Flora, as perfect a child as I have ever seen. From the very moment I saw her, I was struck with the intense need to protect her. Hello.
Hello, miss. You're going to be staying with us?
I am. For a very long time.
You won't go away?
Of course not, child.
Come on! I want to show you the house!
She is so lovely.
She's a little rose, isn't she? Wonderful little thing. She went through a lot in short years.
With her parents.
She takes it on the stride, it seems.
Come on!
Go ahead, miss. I'll see that your things get brought in and I'll have tea ready for you, little princess.
Flora spent the afternoon showing me all around Bly, and I discovered it to be full of nooks and crannies and hidden spaces. A perfect kind of place for a child to hide. Ooh. Oh, is someone hiding? You better look out. I'm going to come find you.
Miss, where are you going?
Oh, were you not?
Come on! I want to show you one of my friends.
And who's this?
This is Jessel. Jessel, this is our new governess.
Hello, dear. Very nice to meet you.
She likes meeting new people.
Do you get many new people here?
No, I see Mrs. Groves all the time. And Miles comes back from school and we get to play together. And every once in a while someone comes to bring us the package or the like. But they never stay long.
What about your uncle?
No, he isn't here much at all. It's been, I don't know how long. Ages, I suppose.
You must miss him.
Not really, miss. I don't really know him. Oh, look at our new governess. She's very pretty, isn't she?
Why, thank you, Jessel. You're very pretty too.
Yep. She's pretty and kind and we love her very much. Even when she's sad.
No, what do you mean?
You get sad sometimes, miss.
Of course. Everyone does. Do you?
I try not to. It isn't nice to be sad.
Well, it may be not nice, but it isn't a bad thing either.
You can't get too sad, though.
You can't.
No. You. You can't get too sad.
Why not?
Because then you'll go away.
I'm not going anywhere, Flora. I just arrived and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. Tea's ready. Tea!
I could not possibly be in a foul mood with Flora around. Her energy is infectious, and in an instant I was completely drawn in by her. It was enough to completely wash away the trepidation from before. But, after Flora went to bed that night, after Mrs. Groves retired to her room and the servants all took their leave, it was just me, awake in the old house. I walked the halls of Bly, wholly unable to sleep. A tremendous unease creeped its way into my heart. There were noises throughout the night. Nothing completely unexplainable, but enough to wear away the strings of my nerves. Footsteps down some distant hallway. Tapping single cry during the night. So many people around, I shouldn't there be noise. And yet, I stood at the top of the grand staircase and was struck by a feeling of vertigo. It felt as though the ground, or perhaps the entire house, was moving under my feet. It felt like Bly's ship, an old, dead ship drifting aimlessly on an empty, windless sea. And there I was at the wheel, trying madly to gain control and powerless to move us. At some point, though I know not when, I made my way to my new room and found a bit of sleep. And in the morning, some of that unease lifted from my chest. Some.
Good morning, miss.
Good morning, Mrs. Rose.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Mrs. Rose. Can I play outside?
Yes. Oh, well,
That's quite all right, Flora. I'll be out there shortly.
Thank you, miss.
first night in the house, let you sleep.
In all honesty,
I'd be honoured.
I had quite a terrible night.
Natural. First night anyone new will do that.
Perhaps that's true.
Especially a big old house like this.
I felt like I heard all kinds of noises.
The house has been around 100 years at least. Feels like it creaks and groans every time I take a step. And oh dear, the pipes in the wall always tap, 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 tapping about.
Of course. That's incredibly comforting. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, miss. Anything I can do to help you get settled in, you just let me know.
Well, I have certainly been charmed well enough by Flora to know I've made the right decision by coming.
She's a little flower, isn't she?
Is she always so sweet?
Always. I've had even a little bit of cheek from her in all the time she's been here.
And what about the boy? Is he as remarkable?
Oh, miss, he's the perfect little gentleman. You just get carried right away.
I think that's why I came here. To get carried away. If I may confess something.
Oh, please.
I think I already was carried away. In London.
By the master.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure. It's not the first.
I imagine not.
It's got an eye for beauty, no doubt about it. Oh, not that you know it from the way this whole place is decorated.
I think it's quite lovely.
Oh, sure, but it's so old. Not that I need the latest fashions, mind, but some of the rugs are worn so thin you can make windows out of them.
Well, his house in London was very well appointed.
Oh, you got to see inside, did you?
I did.
And did he give you the tour?
Nothing like that. Not that. Well, I don't know. It seemed that he was married.
Not that I've heard of. Then again, he's seldom ever here. I've only seen him as camp a few times.
Maybe we'll see him again soon.
You never know, miss. You never know.
But that was idle fancy. And there was now a job to do. I spent the next few days trying to find routines and structure. Flora and I spent the mornings in lessons, and in the afternoons, we explored the grounds. She was particularly fond of being near the lodge pond on the property, and though I don't particularly love the water, as I never found a talent for swimming, it was a pleasant enough spot to spend time in. We'd take the rowboat out to the middle and watch the clouds, or park ourselves under a tree and she'd perform songs or poems she'd memorized. I finally began to find some easefulness in the old house, and the anxiety of that first evening was replaced by anticipation of meeting my second charge at the end of the week.
A letter came for you this morning, miss.
For me? Well, I've only been here a few days. Who could it be from?
It's from the children's uncle, miss.
I see. It must be important then.
Well?
Oh, it's not much, I'm afraid.
Pardon?
It's just
I received a letter from the academy where Miles has been placed. I recognize that headmaster's handwriting, and that headmaster is an incredible bore. I have not opened the letter, although I haven't closed it within.
corporate concerns, handle it in the way that you feel is most appropriate. Please do remember I do not wish to be contacted about any of these matters. I trust you will not disappoint me.
Well, that does sound very much like him, doesn't it? And what does the letter from the school say?
This is quite concerning.
What is it?
It's very direct. Miles is coming back home.
Like all the other students, right back for holiday?
No, not just for holiday. He's back permanently. He has been expelled several days ago already.
Heavens, what for?
It doesn't say.
It's absurd, it doesn't say. What's happened? I'm sorry, Miss, I can't act.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It just says, I am writing to let you know that, regrettably, your nephew Miles is no longer allowed back at the academy. We have made sure to collect his belongings and will be hiring a coach at our expense to deliver him back to a country estate in Essex. This action is immediate and irreversible.
My lord.
Is Miles a bad child?
No, he's a very sweet boy.
Must have been something terrible. He's never been in trouble?
No more than any other boy child. Boys are rough around the edges. They tear the knees of their trousers or stain their shirts. Maybe they get in a little scrap with friends, but what we can kick out of school.
It must have been something quite terrible.
Maybe just a misunderstanding.
To kick him out immediately? Irreversibly? He must have been some kind of threat to the others. Violent, perhaps? Or corrupting?
No, absolutely not. Not little Miles. He's a very sweet boy, only just turned 13. He's still a child.
Did the previous governess have issue with him?
The previous governess? No, miss.
You're sure?
I never heard her say an ill word about him.
And you've trusted her?
I trust Miles, miss. He's a good boy.
Mrs. Rose, I have to ask. What can you tell me of the previous governess?
Miss Jessel was...
Jessel?
Yes. She was very pretty and young. Almost as pretty as you, miss.
Seems to like us.
That's how we liked them, all right. Pretty, young. That's how the master likes them.
That's who you were speaking of.
Of course, miss. Who else?
This previous governess, Jessel. She was careful, particular,
About some things.
but not all.
Miss, she's gone, and I don't wish to speak ill.
What happened to her?
Miss, we're speaking of Miles, and I think
Mrs. Rose, please.
all of that is in the past, and
I
Miles...
feel an obligation to know what's happened to the person who previously held my post.
Miss Jessel died.
Was she ill?
She died suddenly. Whatever illness she had, it wasn't of the blood or the body.
Did she die here?
Miss, there's no use in bringing
I
up-
don't need to be rude, Mrs. Rose, but I must insist. Did she die here?
Hello?
Oh, that'll be Miles. His carriage must have just arrived. I'll see that his things are brought in.
My mind is a panicked bird, trying desperately to find some place to come to rest. Secrets are suddenly compounding, one on top of another, and have I found the last of them? What isn't she telling me about Miles? Since Mrs. Rose does not want to allow her mind to travel to such places, but is this boy some kind of corrupting force? Has he done something awful, something predatory to others at the school?
Hello, miss.
Hello,
You're the new governess.
I am. I've heard much about you, Miles.
I haven't had a chance to hear anything about you yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
How was your time at school?
Really wonderful. I mean, it's school, so there's a lot of boring things that have to be done, but once you get past all the boring things, there's some of the great things too.
Are you bored often there?
Not really, miss. I'm only ever really bored of maths. Numbers aren't very exciting.
Well, I have to say I do agree with that. I was always much more fond of reading.
You too, miss.
How was your coach ride?
It was I've gotten used to it, though. Gives me time to read and think. Mrs. Groves said there were some things left over from breakfast in the kitchen still.
Yes, of course, feel free. Oh, what are you reading?
I've already read it once. If you haven't read it, you really should. It's one of my favourites.
I have so much in me, and the feeling for her absorbs it all. I have so much, and without her, it all comes to nothing. The sorrows of young Werther. A book that captures so perfectly the heart and spirit of the doomed, passionate young man. I think that the one chooses to read says much about the makeup of one's character. The apprehension I felt about Miles was washed away in an instant. He was exactly as charming and lovely as Mrs. Rose had promised, and carried with him a depth and maturity that far outpaced his years.
I like to think about great figures in history and how they were once my age.
We fell into lessons very quickly, and often walked the grounds as we talked at length.
I'm 13, and every single great incredible figure was at some point also 13. It's hard to imagine Caesar being 13, or Napoleon, or Newton, or Jesus Christ.
Do you think you're more different than him, or more the same?
Certainly we all have different upbringings. Maybe they had their parents go away, or maybe they had different kind of house to live in, or more siblings. But I have to imagine there's something that are universal. Experiences we all share.
Even for Jesus?
Maybe not Jesus.
We all found a routine very naturally. Lessons with both children in the morning, and then a more in-depth discussion with Miles, and later a walk of the grounds and nature exploration with Flora. We'd read poetry together, or practice music. I found that Miles was exceptional at the piano, and Flora, she had the most lovely little voice. I felt that it was always meant to be this way.
Miss, if I may,
What is it?
I know it's none of my business, but Miles has been home for a week now,
And?
I was wondering what you've decided to do about the letter, the school and all that. I know it's not my place to ask, but
It's quite all right. I know you have a great fondness for Miles.
really do, miss. It's always like one of my own.
I share that fondness, and I think this whole matter is simply grotesque.
So you don't believe it?
Not at all. Just look at him. He's a wonder.
And what will you say?
In answer to the school? Nothing. I put the letter away.
And what about the children's uncle?
Nothing. He has made it very clear that I am to make these decisions without his input.
And what about Miles?
Nothing. Whatever nonsense this school has cooked up, Miles does not need to be subject to it. For now, Miles will simply stay here and fly.
It's quite wonderful, miss. I'll stand by you and we'll see it out.
We'll see it out. Oh. Whatever they saw in Miles must have been a mistake. This exceptional, beautiful boy was not capable of that level of badness.
But are you?
In the following weeks, I rarely had time completely to myself. Kept so busy with the children, with their education. But in those moments of solitude,
I wonder what kind of badness lies within you. What do you need? What do you yearn for? I can feel a fire inside of you aching to be quenched.
could I be blamed for it? Was it so bad if it only happens within my mind?
I have a feeling you're absolutely wicked.
There's a decadence in getting lost in fantasy. There is also a great romance in it. And I often walk the grounds in the evening instead of spending time in my room, just to keep my mind more occupied. It was on one of these walks that my perception of Bly Manor was utterly shattered. The sun was nearing the horizon, and lent a splash of gold to all the trees in the garden, and to the house itself. Bly is never more beautiful than in sunset. As I weaved between the tree trunks, I imagined that I might pass by one and see him there, my Rochester, perhaps having thought of me as I've been thinking of him, and feeling the need to come here himself. That'd be enough. Just to have this need be acknowledged, and perhaps returned. In this state, I looked to the house, and my breath caught in my throat. It was him! He had come for me. Atop one of the towers of the house, out on the balcony, I saw him. But no. No, it wasn't him. A stranger. An unknown man inside the house. His eyes locked on mine, and I found that I could not look away. His gaze was arresting, and he seemed completely unafraid of being seen. I tracked him as he walked. He passed behind one of the columns, and then he was gone. Never appearing again on either side. I searched the house, discreetly questioned those within. There was no sign of the stranger. As I lay awake that night, one thing stuck firmly in my mind. Though I know he walked away from me, facing completely in the other direction, his eyes never left mine.
Our souls go to judgment, that if we're good, and we're true believers, we go to heaven.
That's true.
Is it though? Is it true?
That's a very weighty question.
I know. It's not something a lot of people want to talk about.
It had been a week since my sighting of the man on the tower, and the intensity of those feelings had faded quickly. He had not been seen again, had made no more violations of our space. I was sure that I was not the subject of some game or trick by the servants, so the most reasonable answer was also the one that fit. We had been visited by some thrill seeker, perhaps drawn by a desire to investigate old houses, to see the Gothic architecture up close. Nothing was missing, no one but me was the wiser, so it felt safe to simply let it go.
I don't talk to Flora of things like this, of course, but I've asked fellows at school, teachers as well. They don't really wish to talk about it.
The children also greatly aided in easing my mind. To put it simply, they were cherubs. The more time I spent with Miles, the more I was convinced of his goodness. My charges were a constant joy, and it made even my small moment of doubt in Miles seem absurd. It must have been that he was simply too sweet, too good for the likes of those at the school. When people encounter something so pure, a vindictive streak can crop up. Bitterness about their own lacking. What do you believe happens after we die?
Oh, I don't really know, miss, but I know what I'd like it to be for myself.
And that is?
Well, I hope that they're right. And that we can go to heaven when we die. Then we can all get together again.
That's a very comforting thought.
But if that's true, if there's a heaven, then it must be that there's a hell as well.
But, you don't worry about going there, do you?
Not really, miss, but I worry about others. Good people who don't believe, or people who end up doing bad and not getting a chance to atone. They just got to hell so terribly.
Everyone has to make the choices in life themselves.
But it feels like you shouldn't go to hell unless you do very bad. I'd rather there be no heaven or hell than for there to be good people who have to suffer just because they made a mistake. And what if?
What?
If there's a soul, and there's places we can go, what if we get lost along the way? Where do we end up then?
Miles, I'll meet you very soon. Oh, damn! What? Did you see him?
No!
The man at the window.
I only saw you, miss.
Damn it! Oh, God damn it!
Who was it?
I don't know, but it wasn't the first time I've seen him.
Seen him before in the village?
No, here. A week ago, I saw him up on the balcony in one of the towers.
You never told me anything about that.
I assumed he was an innocent interloper and that he'd taken his leave.
Did he say anything to you?
No, he simply stared. Like he was peering right inside of me.
What did he look like?
Dark hair and features, the rigid structure. His look is incredibly intense. He's like a coiled spring or an animal waiting to pounce.
A gentleman?
Oh Lord, no. No, he tries to make himself look like one, but I know he's not.
Is he handsome?
Remarkably so.
And dressed?
In someone else's clothes. I don't know how I know it, but I'm sure of it. The clothes are smart, but they aren't his own.
They're the master's.
You know who it is?
No.
Mrs. Gross.
I know who it could be, but it's not possible, miss.
Well, you must tell me.
Please.
Now!
It's Quint.
Quint?
Peter Quint, master's valet. He's put in charge of Bly, and then we were alone with him. And then he went too.
Went where?
Lord knows. Peter Quint is dead.
Mrs. Groves would say no more on it, and I did not push them. I didn't need to. There was a horror in Bly Manor. Some undead creature, and I knew it had come for the children. What else would it be here? Quint was here to corrupt them, or perhaps take them, and I became more devoted than ever in my mission to protect them. Felt especially that he had come from Miles. My perfect wife. I would not let that happen. I had sworn myself to a task that I truly believed in, and I would not disappoint. Bly Manor was mine to protect. And no force of this world or the next would ruin that. In the coming days, I found sleep more and more difficult to achieve. I lay awake in my room, or walked the halls with a candle in hand, searching for intruders, peering through every window, looking out on every balcony, but I did everything I could to insulate the children from it, from all of it. It was all I could do to maintain our routines, including the daily visits to the pond with Flora.
Miss, have you seen my doll?
I'm sorry, I haven't. Do you know where you put it last?
I have it in the chair in my room. I put it there 2 or 3 nights ago. At least I think so.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I'll certainly keep a watchful eye out for it. I'm sure it will turn up eventually. The doll most certainly not turn up. 3 nights before, as I made my rounds of the sleeping house, I found the doll in several different positions throughout the night, untouched by living hands. I burned it in the fireplace in my room and scattered the ashes in the garden. My sweet Flora, what is it you have there?
Daisies, miss. I'm going to make a crown.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Is it for you?
It's for you, miss. Then you can be the new queen.
I'd like that very much. Would that make you the princess then?
Yep.
And what does the princess do?
Well, the princess has tea and cakes.
Lots of cakes, I'm sure.
And Miles is prince.
Oh, he makes a very good prince. You said the new queen. to me, was there someone before me that you saw like that?
Do you like the white daisies or the yellow daisies best?
Laura?
I like the yellow ones best. If you make almost all the crown out of the yellow ones, then the white ones look like diamonds.
It's not the first time she had deferred like this. I had tried twice before to ask questions about the previous governess, but she refused to talk on the matter. I don't push. Flora's such a gentle, beautiful thing. She's a porcelain doll. I would die before treating her roughly.
Is this big enough, do you think?
I think so, dear. Oh, will you make one for you as well, so we can match?
Okay.
We sat there for some time, enjoying the sun and the gentle breeze of midsummer. It was enough to almost leave behind the creeping horror that followed me in Bly. I sat and read, Flora played and sang. I don't know exactly when it happened, but there was a slow, building unease inside of me. A feeling that I could not discount. I stared hard at the book I was reading, doing all that I could to keep my eyes down. But it was of no use. I could see, just out of the corner of my vision, a figure standing just a short distance away. A figure dressed all in black. Servant of the house, perhaps. Someone who had wandered onto the grounds unannounced. Or her. It was several minutes of this. Several long minutes where I wished with every fibre of my being that the shadow would leave us, but it did not. Finally, when I could no longer stand it and felt that I might crawl out of my very skin, I had no choice but to raise my eyes and encounter the thing I was so desperate to avoid. Jessel! I can no longer have secrets here, Mrs. Gross.
I don't know what you mean.
You know exactly what I mean. You're not simple and I'm not insane. What has happened here is made the dead so restless.
You saw the man again?
Quint?
Miss, I don't know anything about spirits.
And I do? I have no knowledge of this. I just know what I've seen here. All I can figure is that something has caused these spirits to not stay at rest. Some trauma, perhaps. Some great horror. What's happened?
Peter Quint.
And Jessel!
And, yes, they were both hired at the same time and were brought to Bly by the master.
Peter Quint was put in charge of Bly.
He was in charge of everything. And everyone, it felt like. He was too free.
With the staff?
For all of us. For Jessel. And for Miles too.
Good morning, Mrs. Rose.
Morning, Mr. Quint.
Where is Miles? I was expecting him at breakfast.
We checked his room.
I was just upstairs, Mrs. Gross. Did you see me come down the stairs?
I did.
And do you think I'd walk by his room, come downstairs and ask you where the boy is without looking in his room first?
I don't know.
Do you think I'm stupid?
I think it's not my job to keep track of Miles for you.
You've got a bit of cheek about you today, haven't you?
I need to attend the washing. May I go?
Am I so repulsive that you can't stand to be in a room with me and answer a fucking question or two?
Mr. Quint, please.
I'm just trying to get some basic information here. And you're treating me like I've got the plague.
I don't know where Miles is.
There you have it. See? That's all you had to say.
You can either answer a question like a decent human being or act like a cunt about it. And one of those options makes life at Bly a fuck of a lot harder now, doesn't it? You don't like me. That's fine. I don't need you to like me. But you will not disrespect me. This is my house. Go. Tend to the washing. I've got lessons for the boy.
He was often alone with Miles,
All the time. He insisted on it.
and what did Jessel say to that?
She couldn't say no. Or didn't want to. Maybe. They were together, miss.
Jessel and Quint, they had an affair?
They did, and they weren't shy about it either.
He corrupted her! Perhaps she welcomed it.
I don't think she was unwilling. She did as he asked. She taught Flora, and he was entirely in charge of Miles.
Well, what did Quint do with Miles?
I don't know, miss.
You don't know? You just can't bring yourself to say it. What happened in the end?
You're up late.
Flora isn't feeling well, so I'm making her some peppermint tea.
You're a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Quint.
You can call me Peter. You know, I'm no boy.
I prefer to call you Mr. Quint.
Oh, have a drink with me.
No, thank you.
Come on, just one little drink.
I think you've had more than enough.
Always so cold, so frigid. You do well to loosen the strings a bit.
I'm very happy with the way I am.
But I'm not. And don't you want to make me happy?
I just want to do my job.
Oh, there's more to life than work.
Stop that!
I just want to
No!
taste. You
Help
don't have
me!
to.
Stop that!
Miles.
Mr. Quint,
It's okay, boy. Perfect, even. You're just who I was looking for.
sir, I just...
Back to your room, boy. I'll be in shortly. Another time then.
Our lives just got worse and worse. Quint was a drinker, and the drink made him even more mean and awful. There were nights when he would shout in the halls and no one could sleep for fear that he would come in and do some kind of violence on them. And then it was over. I woke up one morning and I found him at the bottom of the stairs. His body was already cold. He was lying in a great pool of blood. Best I can figure is he got drunk and slipped. It isn't very charitable of me, miss. But I hope it hurt. I hope he went slow.
And Jessel?
She went soon after. The rest of us were relieved to be rid of Quint, but she just couldn't let it go. She thought one of us had pushed him. I hadn't, mind you, though I had dreamed of it plenty. I guess she just couldn't live with it anymore. The guilt, the sadness. She never spoke to me about these things, and the only one with her at the end was... Oh no. Flora wouldn't tell me what she'd seen, and I didn't want to press her about it. I hope she didn't see what happened, but I just know in my heart that that isn't so. Those poor children have been through too much. This house has been through too much. I have been through too much.
dead. Jessel dead, and both of them angry and vengeful enough to come back and continue the horrible work. And what they're here for, it must be the children. Miles especially. Mrs. Rose may not be able to admit to the truth of it, but I find no benefit in being naive. What Quint must have done with Miles, I have no doubt he was a monster. As I tried to sleep that night, my mind was thrashing in my skull, turning from one thought to another at a violent pace. There were the familiar thoughts, of course. The master, his approval, his rewarding me for my dedication to this cause. God, how much easier it would be if I could simply quit this outright. Then there were other, equally vivid things. Many of these thoughts were disturbing, horrifying even. And then... Hello? Is there someone there? Flora, is that you? Is that... Who's there? Who are you?
I am the master of this house.
Come into the light where I can see you. I'm not afraid of you. I know who you are.
What do you know?
I know you aren't supposed to be here. I don't know what happened to you, but you shouldn't be here.
This is where I belong. Always.
You're dead, Quint. Don't you know that?
What does that matter?
Don't you know what happened? Don't you want to move on?
I know what I want.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
This is my room.
This is my house.
What do you want of me?
What do you want?
I don't know.
What do you need? I know what you need.
Miles! Shit! Mr. Rose, Where are you? Where are you?
Good afternoon, miss.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Rose. Have you seen Miles?
I believe he's out in the garden.
Excellent, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, miss. Got to get some things mended. You know how boys are making holes in every stitch of clothing. I'll let you know when tea's ready.
2 months pass. The days are achy weeks, but the weeks fly from me in an instant. I awake every morning hoping that the shadows that follow us in Bly will melt away, revealing themselves to have been figments of my bruised imagination. They do not. What's more, I am now certain that I am not the only one seeing these creatures. The children do not speak of them. At least not to me, but they know.
Miss, I found my doll.
You did?
Mm-hmm. She fell off the chair and landed underneath the dresser in my room. Poor thing.
Poor thing indeed. And you found it?
I did.
You alone?
Who else would it be, miss? Mars doesn't like dolls.
They trying to protect me, perhaps? Do they think that by not discussing the spirits that will somehow insulate me from their presence? Or a more horrifying and guilt-inducing thought? Have the children already caught a bit of this corruption? Look at her. She's just as lovely as ever, just as perfect. Perhaps that in itself is something to be wary of. There are many small statues in the gardens of Bly. I'm told these are cast in molds and are therefore flawless on the outside. But inside, they are hollow. Is that the same with my dear Flora? Is she just an empty vessel, waiting to be filled with whatever influence passes her way?
Do you want to play tea party?
Do you have the cups and saucers and all?
Some? Where?
Well, if you don't know what the cups are, we can't very well have a party with them.
Oh, I've got a better gift. Wait here.
And yet, these children are my port in a storm. They are the reason I cannot leave here. Even in my weakest moments, when the doubt is insurmountable, the time I spend with them is so full of joy. I will happily do whatever is required to protect them and care for them. Could not love them more if I had borne them myself.
I'm back.
I see. Are we going to play a game?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the game then?
It's one of my favorites.
Are you going to make me guess at it? What is that?
A blindfold. So we can play blind man's luck.
It has been quite some time since I've played that one. Will you go first?
Mm-hmm. Will you help me with the blindfold? Spin me!
All right, but don't hurt yourself on the stairs.
I won't. I'm getting dizzy.
Do remember, this is your idea. Colder. Warmer. Warmer. Oh, oh.
I found you, miss.
Yes, you did. Maybe we should go do something else.
Not yet. You haven't had a go at it yet.
Right.
I've got to spin you, miss.
I never used to be afraid of the dark.
Colder.
When I was a child, I loved being awake deep into the night and looking out my window into the near, complete darkness.
Colder.
I felt then that I could count on being safe. My home, in my room, in my bed. I felt that danger was something beyond, that there was some guarantee of protection if I stayed within the lines. Is this a lie for everyone? Or have I done something cruel or wicked that has put me in this position? There are things beyond this sight and sound, horrors you cannot touch, that can touch you if they wish it. They can touch those who might go back and read this, if anyone ever does, do not want it to be felt that my time at Bly was just misery and horror. It is, of course, easiest to remember worse moments as I sit here, alone in the ruins. My time with the children was, until the very end of things, quite wonderful, even as the shadows lengthened, as the nights grew longer, as the greenery of Bly withered in the chill and sleep became harder and harder to come by. I did everything I could to maintain our routines. I never stopped our lessons. I never stopped caring for them. I did not fail them.
I am not an angel, I certain, and I will not be one till I die. I will be myself, Mr. Rochester. You must neither expect nor exact anything celestial of me, for you shall not get it at all as I shall get it of you, which I do not at all anticipate.
Miles, you've been reading Jane Eyre?
When I recommended a favourite book to you when we first met, I figured I should read one that you like so much. I borrowed your copy. I hope you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
I quite like it. I don't know about the ending, though.
You don't like how it ends?
Well, it's all quite convenient, isn't it? This mystical event comes out of nowhere, bringing them back together and wrapping it all up happily.
Are people not allowed to live happily?
Well, that's not how life goes.
Well, it is for some.
No, it's not. You're happy for a time. Maybe a long time, but not forever.
Well, it doesn't have to be forever to be worthwhile.
I suppose that's true.
Happiness may be fleeting, but then sadness is too.
Our feelings aren't very dependable.
No, they absolutely are not.
Is there much we can depend on?
Some things, yes. You can depend on me.
Are you happy here at Bly?
I'm happy to be with you and Flora.
But that's not quite the same.
Bly is just a house. It's the people here that matter. Six months have passed since I first arrived at Bly Manor. Cold weather has closed in, and under normal circumstances I would keep us all inside for lessons. But there is no respite indoors. There are too many shadows here, too many hidden spaces. I turn on every light in that tent, and it still isn't enough. Prince and Jessel do not come out into the light, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. It's never more than a few days between sightings, and I can never predict where it will happen next. The parlour, the attic, once more in my own room, though I brought in more lanterns and candles and burned them through the night from then on to keep that from happening again.
You can't stop me.
I try not to address them. I try not even to look at them.
Nothing can stop me. Not even death.
Quint tries to draw me in.
I take what I want.
His whispers make him easier for me to ignore. He is a monster, but he is not a mystery. I know what he wants. But her,
Don't ignore me.
she says nothing. At least, nothing that I can hear.
Don't ignore me, you cow.
I see her in the dark corners, at the end of shadow hallways, never seeing her face, never hearing her voice. But I hear something, like a whisper, like a dead branch scraping the floor. Sometimes she reaches for me. Other times she simply waits. The silence is maddening. Once late at night, I saw her at the top of the stairs and I could not help myself any longer. I screamed at her, "What do you want from me?" She said not a word. Just took one step down the stairs and vanished in the light of a candle. Where is she trying to lead me? Why is she still here? The children.
The children.
They were as warm and lovely as ever. Perhaps even more so now. They seem to delight in pleasing me, reciting things they've memorized, playing songs, regaling me with lists of facts I've taught them. But I am suspicious.
You should be.
I feel that they are working to mollify me, to throw me off the trail. I see them whispering together. Innocent games? Or conspiracy?
You should hear the things they say.
I do everything I can to keep up appearances.
The things I've taught them.
Perhaps they would admit to me if I pressed them, if I forced them to do so.
Keep your eyes open. Don't
Oh,
blink.
but I cannot! I cannot bear to disturb the dance we do, even if they are lying to me. Even if we all know something horrible is pulsing just below the surface. They are just so wonderful that I cannot bring myself to challenge them. Instead, I keep watch. Keep vigilant, sleep less, drive shadows away from the night and day. But it isn't enough. One evening, well past midnight, I stop outside Flora's room. I stand and wait, my ear pressed against the door, and I hear whispers. I crack the door just a little, and I see that my sweet Flora is at the window, hands pressed against the glass, but I cannot see who she is speaking to. I quickly go to the nearest room with a balcony to gain a vantage point on the outside of the room. The moon is full, and the sky is clear and cold. The gardens are awash with ghostly illumination, and the light is at such an angle that there are almost no shadows on the ground. I look over to Flora's window. Nothing! Whoever she is speaking to has fled my sight. But there is something else. A shape moving across the lawn. A shape I know instantly, and I'm then running so quickly down the stairs and out the front door that I haven't even brought a lantern with me. There's hardly a need, as I can see outside as clear as ever. Miles!
Hello, miss.
What are you doing out here? It's freezing.
I was waiting for you.
What?
I was waiting for you to come find me.
What do you mean?
You did. Exactly as I wanted you to.
You were out here for me? But you didn't say anything. How did you know I'd come looking?
I arranged it all with Flora. But she should stay and watch. That would draw your attention enough to bring you out here.
Why? Why go through all of that?
If I tell you, will you try to understand?
Yes, Miles, please tell me.
I wanted you to think of me as bad for a change.
Bad.
I am not an angel.
Wicked boy.
Do you understand?
Miss, I just don't understand. He was outside.
In the middle of the night.
It doesn't seem like him. Again, children do all kinds of things.
This isn't just about the children.
Everyone plays tricks
The
sometimes.
children conspire.
No, miss.
He told me so himself.
Playing a trick together with his sister does not make them bad. That's what children do. Especially siblings. Especially siblings who've been forced to have nothing but each other for so long.
No, they are not bad, Mrs. Gross. They are corrupted.
No, that's not right, miss. That's not right for you to say.
I'm not blaming them.
They are innocents.
There are outside forces here, Mrs. Gross. You know that.
I know that you know that.
You feel it just the same as I do. There is a battle of wills inside these walls. A battle for the souls of those children. They scheme, they conspire, they talk with quintessence all the time.
They told you this.
My eyes are open. I do not need to be told what I can see plainly. Why else would the spirits be here if not for Miles and Flora? They wish to continue the work they began in life, to take over the children by force.
This is horrible.
It is on me to protect them.
But how?
Vigilance. Constant vigilance.
If what you say is true.
It is.
If what you say is true, then how can they ever be safe here?
I will watch over them and I'll make sure that the spirits know.
You have to sleep through this. You can't watch them all day and night.
I'll do all that I can.
I wonder if it's time to write a letter to the children of Braal.
I don't know.
Breazeale, tell them the children need to be away from Bly.
Think about what you're doing.
No. I'm sure they'll understand. You wouldn't want anything bad to happen to the children.
No involvement, no contact.
I can't.
Don't disappoint me.
I won't.
Miss?
No! My instructions were very clear and I do not intend to deviate from them. The children are my responsibility. Bly is my responsibility. No one will take that from me. Consider your friend Mrs. Rose a dear friend, but you will not cross me on this. There are horrors lurking in this house, and if you go behind my back, I will leave you here in the dark with them. Alone. Do you understand? In the days and weeks following, I do everything I can to keep my constant vigil. I sleep only when I know the children are safe and in the light, but I find myself waking with a lack of sleep on shore. Or perhaps the corruption trying to worm its way into my mind. I find myself suddenly coming to awareness in parts of the house I rarely enter. High in the towers, the servants' quarters. Once I awoke curled up at the foot of Flora's bed, the burning candle I was holding dripping wax onto my hand. The lunch right service both of me. I knew in the rational part of my mind that this was not sustainable. What was happening was not rational, so why should it be that I needed to react rationally to it? My affection for the children only grew, as did theirs for me. Even though I believed them to be conspiring with my enemies, I could not fault them for it.
Yes.
Huh? Yes, what is it?
Are you alright?
I'm just fine, thank you. Is something wrong?
No, it's just. Are you still wanting us all to go to church this morning? Yes.
Yes. Yes, of course. I apologize for being a little off the souls.
It's alright. I had something I wanted to discuss, but now isn't a good time.
Yes, Miles, it's just fine. Of course, please.
Don't you think it's time for me to go back to school?
Well, what do you think?
I've been away from it for far too long, my dear.
Don't you like it at Bly?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
But you want to leave.
But I can't just stay at home forever. And besides, it isn't right for a fellow to just be around ladies all the time.
And the same ladies at that.
All perfect, these ladies, of course. All wonderful. But I'm to be a gentleman. I am a gentleman. And it's important for a man of station to be around his fellows.
I see.
Since I do not have a father, I need to ensure that I'm learning how to be a proper man.
You don't think I could teach that to you?
I haven't learned much from you, miss. You are a wonderful teacher. But it's just not the same. And I've been awfully good, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Except for that one night.
That night.
When I played the joke on you. When I went out of the house.
That's right. That's right. And I'm forgetting just now, why was it you did that?
Why? To show you that I could.
I see, and no one told you to do so?
No.
No one influenced you?
No, it was my decision. I did it. And I could do it again.
Of course.
I
appreciate that. Did you get on well at school? Were you happy there?
There as well as anywhere, miss.
Well, if you're just as happy here.
But it's not just about that. I need to see more of life, miss. Surely you know that.
Have you not seen much of life so far?
I won't see much of it way out here. We're all by ourselves in the middle of nowhere.
That is true. Do you feel they were happy with you at school?
Of course. Why do you ask?
But it's my job to make sure you're going to be in a good environment, isn't it?
Yes. And yes, they like me very well there. I was with my own fellows, respected the rules, of course. Did as needed and as I was told.
I see.
Don't you think this is odd?
Odd.
The way I'm being brought up. The environment.
What about it distresses you?
I have no father figure even. No man to learn from or to teach me.
But you did. Before.
I need to be with other boys, miss. I love Flora, and you as well, and I do appreciate my home here, but I need to be away. I need to do as other boys do and learn what kind of man I'm to be. Please, miss.
Is there something here that you're concerned about?
I need to go back to school. I must. And if you aren't able to do that for me, I'll have my uncle do it. Please, miss.
When was the last time you saw your uncle? I don't mean to be unkind. But you know he won't come, don't you?
That's not true.
Oh, my sweet.
That's not true.
Miles should go back to school.
Are you sure about that?
He's not safe here. So why am I so hesitant?
You know why.
He's a good boy. He's such a sweet boy.
Do sweet boys get thrown out of school?
He's innocent.
Corrupted!
No!
He's lied to you already. He lies every time he opens up that mouth of his.
You don't know him.
I know him better than you can possibly imagine. I know exactly what he's capable of.
I will save him.
You can't save him. You can't even save yourself.
Whatever it is you've done, I will not do it.
Not if he doesn't want you to. Not if he enjoys it.
You're repulsive.
I'm inexorable. You don't even know what's happened here.
Gaslit it, will you not?
And you certainly don't know what's happened there. At the school.
Nothing happened.
You don't believe that. You can hardly say it.
You made a mistake.
Who knows what kind of terrible thing he'll do next? What kind of intrigue? What kind of corruption he'll pass on? The boy is tainted, marked, forever.
Stop!
You can't save him. He doesn't want to be saved. He just wants to be gone from here. And who can blame him? You're playing an impossible game and you don't even understand the rules. Wouldn't it be easier to just give up? Walk away. Go back to London and pretend none of this ever happened. Or, even better, you could join us. Lay down your burdens and experience true freedom, true power, forever!
begin. Writing a letter to the children. This is not a failing. I do not see it that way. The circumstances are just so different than he could possibly realize. If he knew what was going on here, I'm sure he'd approve of my doing this. I'm sure that he'd want the children safe. I'm doing what is necessary to protect him. He must see it that way. As I make my rounds that evening, the house feels especially dark. The light of my lantern does not reach as far as it has before. The shadows feel closer. They grasp at me from all directions. I'm constantly watched. Every room feels cavernous. My light never reaches the ceilings. But my vigil continues. I stand by Miles' bedroom door, holding my breath, listening intently to see if there's a conversation with Quint. Instead,
Will you come in, miss?
didn't mean to wake you.
It's okay. I was still awake.
Having trouble sleeping?
I've got a lot on my mind.
Do as well.
Sorry I yelled earlier.
That's not right.
None of this is all right.
With school?
With everything. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. I know things could be a lot worse, but why does everything have to be so hard? It feels like every part of my life, right from the beginning, has been so terribly difficult. Even the things I've been given have had all sorts of hidden problems inside of them. Am I a bad person?
No. I don't think you are.
Then why must all these bad things happen to me? Why must I endure more than others? They talk at church about justice. They say God sees us and cares about us, but how can that be? How am I supposed to believe in justice when I've seen none?
My poor sweet boy.
I need things to look forward to. I need to know I'm headed in some sort of direction.
Thank you for opening your heart to me. I do not want there to be any secrets between us. Are there?
What?
Are there secrets between us, Miles? You know you can tell me anything.
Miss.
Was there someone unkind to you at school?
No. I had a lot of friends.
No, sure.
Yes, everyone was very nice to me.
Something all locked up in there. Secrets in your mind. Secrets. Secrets in this house. You see it, don't you?
No?
I'm going to save you. But to do that, I have to break through the walls you've put up. I have to dig until everything is out in the open. It's the only way. Let me in, Miles. I can save us all. I can do it. You'll hear them telling you should stop me, but we aren't going to listen to that. Let me in, Miles. Let me see what's happened. Let me save you. Let me save you, my sweet, sweet boy.
Miss, please.
More days pass and the storms never quite leave us. There are times where I feel that I have control over myself, my actions and emotions. But quite often I feel that I am part of some great mechanical beast, like the little figurines in a cuckoo clock, set on the track and forced to come out and called to perform. Maybe that's true of all of us, even the spirits. Perhaps it is the house itself that holds the gears and pulleys, pushes us where we have to be. There are still moments of free will, however. And I will use those moments of lucidity as best I can. While my quiet battle with Miles continues at a draw, I turn my attention to Flora. A beautiful, perfect Flora, the porcelain doll. I push for answers, gently of course. I explore, investigate. There are secrets in every corner, every shadow, every strand of hair. Every tear holds a multitude. Sometimes tears say what words cannot. And then we are back on our tracks, the gears ticking around us, pushing us to our prescribed places to do our prescribed business.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening.
Feel like I haven't seen much of you lately.
Oh, you know, business to attend to, children to teach, ghosts to avoid, all than enough to keep me busy.
Are the children doing well with their lessons?
Oh, the children are perfect. They are wonders, the likes of which I'll never see again, absorbing every bit of information I give them. They're also constantly lying, scheming, reveling in the corruption that flows through this house like it's a pagan bonfire.
Good lord.
Oh, I don't hold it against them. No, they can't help it. Precipice is coming, Mrs. Grace. That I am very sure.
What do you mean, miss?
I mean the end. Some kind of end. Or at least a change. We're reaching a breaking point.
And what will happen then?
It were a perfect world. We'd cleanse the house, banish the spirits, and find our cozy, happy ending here at Bly. Do you think the world is perfect?
No.
Then I have no idea. And the sword finally falls. I only hope it's me on the throne.
Don't know what you mean, miss. You're starting to scare me.
You're scared! Angry spirits watch me undress. They watch me sleep, what little of that I do. They have now stopped talking to me, which is somehow even more disturbing. It must mean that they are talking to the children even more, and of course the children see nothing about it, but they watch. I watch them, they watch me. You're scared. You're finally paying attention. Tried half a dozen times to write a letter to the children's uncle.
That's good, miss. That's really good.
What do I say? Hello, sir. Your house is haunted, your ward's threatened, your nephew is expelled, but God knows what, and all the trust you put in me is for nothing. You'll think I'm mad. What if I am mad? That's no better. I'm going to reach out to him. Finish the letter tonight. Told me.
We don't want to know what's
He said
happening here.
never to bother him.
It is too late for that. We need help. We need it badly.
Sent him back the letter from the school, I suppose. Should have done it right away. I was foolish for thinking I could handle this mess.
Do you think he'll come?
I don't know. But I think if nothing changes, one of us won't make it.
Everything will be alright, miss. We'll all be okay. I know it. Have you seen Flora? I was hoping to bring her some tea. She should be in her room. Oh, miss, I checked there first.
Nowhere on the upper floors?
Not that I saw.
I've left it too long. I've left it too long. I'll search the lower floor. I'll search the upper.
pond. I haven't found her anywhere. Where could she have gone? She's looking for movement in the water. Do you think she's out there?
The rowboat is gone.
No, keep that up on the shore. She couldn't have pushed that out herself.
I know!
Flora! Flora! Please say something, dear. You're not in trouble. We're just trying to find you. I'm going in. I'm going to find her.
If you go in that water, you'll be dead before you know it. It's absolutely freezing.
What if she's in there?
If she's in the water and not in the boat, then she's already gone. There's no sense in dying with her.
Flora! Flora!
Flora, the game's over! It's over! Come out now!
You will get your warmer.
Oh my God, I lost you.
I'm right here. I was hiding.
Flora,
Where's your coat?
where's yours?
I must have left it. And where's Miles?
Where's Miss Jessel?
I don't know what you mean, miss.
I know she brought you out here. Where is she?
I don't know why you're asking about this. Where's Miles?
Tell me where Miss Jessel is and I'll tell you where Miles is.
Please, miss. I want to see Miles.
No more lying. No more secrets.
You have to be so
Where is
Miss.
Where's Miss Jessel? I know you talk to her. I know you see her all the time. Where is she? Let me go! You will let me open that door. She wants you to lie to me. She wants you filled with deceit. Where is she? Where is Jessel? I hate you. I hate you.
There you are, demon. We have to get out of the coldness. We need to get the child inside.
Look across the way. She's right there at the water's edge staring at us.
I don't see anything.
She's there.
There is nothing there. Nothing. Come on, Flora.
I stare at the creature until the last of the light finally dies and the shadows overtake her. And I continue staring, continue looking across the frigid pond until the feeling drains from my exposed skin. At some point it begins to rain, though I can hardly tell. Still raining now, as I write this. It may continue to rain forever here on Fabulous Island. It's no longer a limit to the things that I can conceive of. I slowly make my way back around the pond. Certain, at the same time, of the opposing thoughts, both that I shall not encounter the wraith, and that at any moment she shall appear behind me and drag me into the murky depths to drown. Quite certain that if I were to feel the lining of her dress, that it would be full of stones. The only thing I encounter is the rowboat. Back where I had moved it, the day before, where it had certainly not been just a couple hours previous. It should feel like a victory, like proof, but I feel nothing. I have no one to share this with, so I simply accept it, as I do so many other things. I do not go to bed this night. What would be the point? To perform the nighttime rituals for prying eyes? To let them watch me at my most vulnerable? To lay awake and to stare at the ceiling and see the vague shapes twist in the darkness? All that for perhaps an hour or two of some pathetic simulacrum of rest? Instead, I settle into one of the chairs in the parlor and watch a candle flicker until a sudden sleep overtakes me, and then I dream. A remarkable thing, because of all the uncertain events I have experienced, I can say with surety that this was a dream, which serves to put the rest of the film astounding. I find myself on the rocky shore of Fabulous Island, looking out at the sea. The The tide is low, but rising. The broomway is visible in the moonlight, but I can see the waves starting to overtake it. I feel the urge to run. Not a rational urge, but that same ferocious, panicked rage that grips horses in a storm. I prod myself one look behind, and I see Miles and Flora. Just a little ways back, holding hands and watching me. They say nothing, these dream children, but I hear them just the same. I hear their sing-song whispers over the waves, beckoning me to stay, telling me to go. A deep step. Another. I've left the island behind. I've escaped Bly Manor. And these dream steps travel so much further than those of reality, so that in just a moment's time I'm far away from the shore, straining my eyes to see the next broom. The waves are lapping at my feet, shifting the sand underneath my steps. I dare another glance behind and see that the children are gone, replaced by a flock of doves, frozen in the midst of ascension. I know they have died without my care. My tears mix with the spray of the waves now crashing against me. I turn back around and see that Breazeale is before me. I'm no longer afraid. I approach her, feeling with every step that I could at any moment be swept away, and soon we are close enough to touch. She does not shy away or disappear, even as I reach to move the veil that conceals her face. I move it to the side and find nothing but darkness beneath. A gaping void, a churning whirlpool of chaos and death that has been awaiting me. It pulls me, yanks so hard that my shoulder tears completely out of joint, and I am helplessly dragged into the ever-widening abyss. I can smell the fetid dark water, and soon my nose is full of horrible stuff as I am pulled into the depths of her. I hold my breath for as long as I am able, as I am dragged further and further down, but waiting it out is useless. My breath escapes in a single sob, filling back up with the wretched liquid that has sat in Breazeale's lungs for all this time. I find that, at least in this dream, a death by drowning is much slower than I could ever hope.
Good morning.
Oh, Mrs. Rose. Good morning. It's morning.
It is. Did you sleep?
Poorly.
Same for us all. Between the storm and...
The circumstances.
That's a way of putting it.
I should see to the children.
Miles has gone into the village. I made sure he was wearing his coat, but he'll be there till the afternoon at least.
I see.
Flora stayed with me last night and I stayed up most of the night with her. She's very ill.
I think I must get the best.
She won't see you, miss.
Am I not still the governess here?
She won't see you. She told me so plainly enough, and, well, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything what's been going on here.
You still won't admit to it?
There are things that aren't my business that may happen around me. I'm not going to guess at things, miss, but I will say that she has been talking.
Has she?
She said, Flora is such a sweet thing.
She certainly is.
The things I've heard her say are just horrible.
About?
You, miss. About you. She has said the most awful, vile things.
I can imagine he's been teaching her all that.
It's too much.
Do you believe her?
It doesn't matter. Not a whit.
You know she's been speaking
You
with me.
stop that. I am not your better, and I will not pretend to be. It doesn't matter what I know or what I believe. Not about all of that or about you. Flora is sick.
And we'll care for her.
It's not safe for her to be here.
does she go?
We'll go to her uncle's.
You can't do that.
I'm taking Flora, and we are going to her uncle's.
You know he won't keep her.
Either she is sick because she is an ill child in terrible weather, or she is sick because of some other reasons having to do with being here. Either way, it is not safe for her to be at Bly. I'm taking Flora and we are going to her uncle's. I'm not telling. I'm not asking, miss, I'm telling.
When will you be back?
Don't expect I will be.
You're leaving me here?
This isn't about you. Someone has to care for these children, miss.
You're a good woman. Mrs. Groves left with Flora this morning. Of course, I wanted to see her before she left, but I knew it was for the best that I did. Simply watched from the window as they boarded the coach and disappeared down the drive. It's for the best. It must be. It's only selfishness that makes me wish she would stay. I do miss her already, and the house feels so empty without her voice. I walked every inch of Bly Manor this afternoon, waiting for Myra's to return. For the first time in months, I neither saw nor heard anything unusual. I was able to truly see the house in a way I never have before. Paint has chipped under most of the windows. Plaster has gone in spots, exposing a bit of the wood beneath. Bricks missing from the west tower. A large, jagged crack in the masonry of the fireplace. And the wallpaper in my room. Has it been peeling like that the entire time? Have I truly failed to notice something so obvious? Or was it intentionally kept from me? As I walked, undisturbed by the living or the dead, I felt alone. Completely alone. And it brought me no comfort. I knew they were simply waiting. The whole house holding its breath. I knew too why man was left and why he was gone so long. The spell had been broken. My authority shaken. If I wanted to remain in control of Bly Manor, then I would have to confront the demons of the house directly.
Hello, miss.
Oh, Miles, you're soaked. Come here. Come here. We need to get your husband's clothes. Look at you.
Miss, please.
Suppose you don't need my help doing all of that.
No.
You're the man of the house now, is that it? Well, at the very least, you should stand near the fire a bit and warm up. Not an order, but just a suggestion, sir. It's just you and I for tea this evening.
What will we be having?
You're not curious where Flora is? You already know?
I saw them as they came through town.
Mm-hmm. Stopped in town long enough for you to talk? Yes? What else did you do on your day out?
Just my legs, I suppose. Walked around town. Enjoyed being out.
You're feeling some new independence.
Well, I'm not a child. If I don't want to be treated like one.
Then you shouldn't act like one. That's right. You're right, then I won't treat you like one either.
Right. Good.
If I'm no longer to be your governess, for adults do not have such things, like a goddamn adult. No more hiding, no more games, no more lies, Miles. Out with it.
I stole your letter.
What? My
The letter you wrote to my uncle. I stole it.
Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know. He wanted to see what you said about me.
So you read it,
Yes?
and you found nothing?
Nothing.
I hardly said anything at all. I simply said that you wanted to go back to school and you wanted his intervention.
Yes?
Is that what you did at your old school?
What?
Steal? Letters or maybe other things? Is that why they expelled you?
You know about that?
I've known since the beginning.
Oh my god.
I was willing to overlook it. I assumed it was a mistake. Maybe. But after what's happened, I
can't believe you knew.
Did you steal things?
No!
Then what did you do? What did you do, Miles?
I just said things.
What?
Nothing bad.
Who did you say these things to? The teachers?
No. Just a few people. People I liked.
That's all?
That's all. That's it. I swear.
And you didn't think they'd repeat what you'd said?
No! I made them promise, but promises, we all break promises, all of us. They must have said the ones that they liked, and then more and more people talked until...
The headmaster.
I didn't think he'd tell. I didn't think he'd do anything.
Miles.
I want to go home!
This is,
I want to go home!
this is your home.
No, it's not! I want to be with Mother and Father.
You can't.
Everyone can but me. I'm sent away from school and don't even have a home to be expelled to, so it must be me. I'm bad.
Miles.
I'm wicked.
No.
No one likes nasty little boys. Nasty little bitch boys.
Miles, stop it.
Nasty little boys get punished and they like it.
Miles, stop.